So at the beginning of the film, we see a girl who opens the grave of a dead man with her brother and lies down in it. This was Sita. She wanted to know whether people would be punished for their bad deeds after death or not. Her brother puts the last lid of the grave and sits next to her. The girl turns on the camera as soon as the grave is closed. Outside the grave, it is shown that a snake was passing over it and coming inside the grave. Sita's brother did not notice and did not inform Sita about this. The reason behind this strange experiment of Sita was her past. She had lost her mom and dad in a bomb blast in front of her eyes, and since then, this thing had stuck in her mind. That good people do not always have a good ending. Bad people take advantage of this world too, and even after death, they do not get any punishment, nor are good people given any reward like Relin's study. They were told that after the death of Sita's mom and dad, Sita and her brothers were left in an orphanage years ago, where teacher Lillian tells her that the consequences of bad people are bad even if they meet them after death. But Sita did not believe in this thing, and to prove her teacher wrong, she went to a sarang with her brother. No one had gone to this sarang before Sita, because it was believed that this river is haunted and people disappear as soon as they go inside. She had gone inside with her brother Adil, and on going deeper, they found nothing except darkness, and what is even more strange is that when they went further inside, Adil and Sita could not even see each other. Now they could not even hear each other's voice. Sita was worried for her brother and moved ahead. She saw a child in the same tunnel who was very scared and frightened. What happened was that in reality, there was no child but his soul, and when he told his name to Sita in a strange manner, Sita got scared. The child told his name Ismail in a slightly horrified manner. That is why Sita came out of fear where she saw that Adil was waiting for her along with the villagers. These people are again left in orphanage where, despite coming, Sita had only one question in her mind: that how could Ismail's soul come to the stall? Why is her soul wandering like this? Now she started following and listening to the teachers and the people working here. And one day, when a teacher and a caretaker were talking, Sita came to know the real truth of Ismail. She came to know that this orphanage belonged to a very rich man, but he had not created this orphanage for a good purpose. He had not created this orphanage to support the children, but the orphanage had made this for himself. He used to provide support to the destitute children here, and he used to take the child he liked among them. The rich people used those children for their own benefit, and Ismail was also one of those unlucky children with whom many rich people had committed atrocities, and since then his soul was wandering in that tunnel. Sita hears that this time they had chosen Adil. The teachers tell that after that night, Ismail started dating someone. Sita did not see him, but Sita had seen him inside the tunnel. Now she immediately goes to her brother to save his brother's life. But before she could catch her brother, two men caught hold of her brother. Sita could have become a threat to them. That is why they caught Sita and imprisoned him in the storeroom whose windows and doors were sealed. To save her brother, Sita fought her brains out and took off her scarf, and with his help got sealed. Tried to break the windows, in which she was successful. As soon as she came out, the caretaker came to her. She had brought some money and necessary things for the journey so that she could save her brother and go away from here. The caretaker had told her where these people were taking Sita's brother. Sita, running through the forest, had already reached the road through which she had to pass with Adil. She threw a stone at him. First she destroyed the driver and then saved her brother and ran away from there, after which the scene was cut, and we were shown 10 years later Sita, who has grown up and now works in an old age home. Despite the passage of time, Sita's mind was filled with the thought of her mother being dead, and at that time it had not come to her mind that the consequences of bad people are the same as after the death of good people. Only bad people prosper in the world. Even after death, it doesn't matter to them, nor are good people given any reward or peace. Now she wanted to prove this and was ready to go to any extent for this. For her experiment, she chooses the owner of her orphan's house, who used to abuse children in her childhood. He was currently living in his old age home. First, she collects evidence of all his bad deeds, and then by intoxicating the old man, we have to make him vomit out all his sins, and due to all these bad things, he finally commits suicide. Lovebai's children also knew about his bad deeds, but Lovbai was rich, and hence they did not say anything to him. After his death, not even one of his sons supports him. Only the people of Lady's home perform his funeral. Adil brings him, after which he is shrouded and buried. Now she wanted to see directly that what would be the fate of this bad man after his death, That is why she lay down in the grave. This is the same scene which was shown to us in the beginning of the movie. After lying down in the grave, he switched on his mobile while Adil, in his last words, told him to call me if there is any problem, and he himself sat down. Now a snake started coming near the grave, which Adil noticed after some time, so he immediately took Sita to the grave. As long as Sita remained in the grave, there was some negative thought there, and it was proved to be true that no punishment is given to bad people after death. She goes to tell the same thing in a morning show, and there they also take their recording, but as soon as the recording is played, there was nothing there. It was found that Adil had deleted everything, and no one ignored Sita's words like this. She screamed and cried and asked Adil why did he do this. Adil tells that he did not find it right to do all this. By doing this, the bad people will get more shame and no one will respect the good people. He says directly that you too are so good. You also did not think about anyone else except yourself. You did not even do your duty properly in the old age home, which was your duty. Due to these heartfelt words, she gets heartbroken and goes home and cries a lot with the picture of her mother and father. While crying, she felt as if Lav Bai had called her. Following the voice, she went into a room, but there was no one there. Lav Bai had already died. When she started closing the door of this room, she heard the sound of Lav Bai again. This time, after hearing the voice, as soon as she turned back, there was a shadow. She went closer and saw that it was an old lady who used to live in this old age home. She was crying, and she told Sita that her Sita went with her when she told her that her husband was cheating on her who was living here with her. When she saw that her husband was spending time with a nurse, she started screaming so much that even all the old age roommates gathered here. The woman was not able to bear this shock at this age. She wanted to kill this man, but Sita stopped her and took her away from here in the night when this old woman urinates. She accidentally got her ring left in the laundry machine, and when she went inside to take it out, she accidentally pressed the button of the machine and she died while roaming around in the laundry. As soon as everyone heard her noise, they finally took her out, but by then it was too late. The man was deeply shocked by the death of his wife because he had not even apologized to his wife. Due to this shock, he was going crazy crying. Sita is now in this situation. She wanted to do something for the old soul. Adal's words were very close to her heart. That is why she went to a shaman living in her own old age home, and she asked if she could do something to call Auntie's soul. The shaman agreed, and along with some elders, sat on a gold table where she had lit some candles. There was a man with him. He asked Sita to sit here, but Sita was feeling scared. But without Sita, she was forced to drink the entire ritual. Nasita was forced to sit down while Shaman was doing the ritual. That soul came inside Shaman. Shaman now started speaking in the voice of the aunt who had died. As soon as she heard her voice, the husband tried to apologize to her, but the woman said, "I will not forgive you like this until you kill the woman with whom you cheated on me." As soon as Sita heard this, she felt something was wrong. Immediately asked Shaman to stop the ritual, but then all the old people started saying in the same auntie voice that Sita felt threatened by that woman. So she got up from the ritual, she extinguished all the candles and opened the curtains. She broke this ritual and immediately went to save the life of that nurse. Now she reached that nurse and was about to tell her something that the old man was planning to kill this nurse. To save her, Sita came close to him, took her to a room and closed the door, but on the other side, another friend of hers was already there, who killed her by stomping on the woman's stomach. She asked the uncle, "Why did you kill this innocent child?" To which the uncle replied, "I don't want to suffer after death." He wondered whether he had watched Sita's morning show, but Sita had not been able to prove anything in that morning show whether dead people are punished or not. Now he searched on the internet and came to know that after Sita's show, many people were impressed by Sita, and he repeated Sita's experiment, and this time many strange things were recorded from the graves of people who were not good people. Screaming and calling sounds were recorded, and there was peace in some of the graves, which meant that Sita is really punished after death. She was surprised to see all this. She wondered why all that had not happened to Lao Bai. Thinking this, she immediately dug Labai's grave and decided to go inside again. But what she saw at Rankundar was that there were not even Labai's bones there. Suddenly, now there was mud from the grave and wood from the grave. To avoid it, she digs a hole ahead and goes into it. As soon as she made her way, the mud blocked her path from behind. She continued moving straight ahead and found a tunnel. The tunnel she went inside was the same tunnel inside which she had found Ismail. That tunnel was not here in the city. Sita thought that perhaps due to lack of oxygen she was getting fainting spells, but the next moment she heard the old voice of Smile. Now she came forward in the tunnel and saw Sita's childhood in front of her. Her mom and dad were standing outside a glass mirror who were waving for her. Sita became emotional after seeing them and started crying after seeing them, and in the next moment, all these things disappeared. The tunnel became the same again in which she started moving forward, and at this time she heard the remorse of her brother and the sounds of screaming. Sita heard that when she went ahead, she also found her childhood friend from the orphanage, in front of whom Ismail was standing. Sita thought that perhaps all this was her illusion. She remembered that ghosts do exist, but unless you believe, beyond them, they are not visible. She closed her eyes and made up her mind that she could not see anything here, and when she opened her eyes, again the children of the orphanage were in front of her. Now Ismail came in front of her and started scolding her, said, "Why did you leave me that day? Didn't you understand that day that I was scared? Someone was coming behind me." She got upset after listening to him, and suddenly she heard the sound of someone coming from above. It was the voice of some monster. Seeing this, Ismail said to Sita, "I am not afraid anymore, and you too, don't be afraid of it. To avoid this, jump into the tunnel in front of me." The tunnel was very deep. With me, nothing can be seen inside. Munster was also moving fast towards them, so Sita jumped into that sarong with Ismail, and suddenly, when she regained consciousness, we found her lying with Lahubai. Sita turned and saw Laba lying near her. What she had seen seemed like a scary dream. She screamed and called Adal, but there was no one outside now. No one came to help her. Now a snake was inside the grave. Came and climbed on top of Sita. He bit Sita, and then he went inside the mouth of Lavbai. While the snake was going inside, Lavbai got up and sat down. Someone broke Lavbai's head with a hammer. Their splashes fell on Sita's face, and she got completely scared. But this was just the beginning. Bai's head was fixed again, and she was tortured again in the same way. In place of her tongue, many snakes had come out. Her body was starting to be on her body. After this, now something was coming here. Sita was afraid to get Lavbai Konukasan. At the same time, Adil dug up the ambassador from above and drove her out. She was more scared. What she saw, she knew that the bad people definitely get the punishment, and this story is over here, and this story is over.